back to another episode of Short and Sweet, where the reviews are short.
And it's really sweet that they shared it with us.
It's really sweet that we have this bottle of Fortuna here on the table, which we already have poured up. It is a 102 proof rye bourbon that pays homage to an older label back in the day. That was Fortuna.
Fortuna.
Which translated to Taste of Good Fortune. These are between a 3 and 5 barrel blend.
And the suggested retail price on these is about $70, although people like to charge more for them. You know, people do what they do. That's interesting on the nose.
Yeah, it is. We know what's interesting about the batches, which we have batch 1E, is that each batch is blended a little bit differently to match the flavor profile of one of the historic brands. This is made by the Rare Character folks, so they're actually blending this to sort of match a vintage type of profile.
So there is like kind of a funky, earthy note on this.
I get that too, yeah.
Like I was just expecting, you know, traditional 6-year Kentucky bourbon, classic caramel vanilla, some oak, maybe we get some berry or some fruit.
Yep.
This has something that I can't quite discern, so I guess we should just get to tasting it.
To your health. There is the earthiness there. I think maybe what we were trying to pick up on was a little bit of a stone fruit vibe, kind of in there with a bit of a citrus pop.
See, I'm getting much more
and nutty?
earthy, nutty.
Oh, wait a second. Okay.
Like cashews, walnuts, pecan, a bowl of mixed nuts, and they're seasoned. Oh, and there's also this like old furniture feeling about it. Not in that it's musty, but just something that's been around for a while, which is, I guess, kind of
the vintage.
Actually, you know, that kind of makes sense if that's what they're trying to achieve with like a vintage vibe. It's kind of getting there in that way.
Well, there definitely is a good presence of oak for the minimum age in this being 6 years old, as you said, yeah. But there is sort of an antique vibe on the nose and sort of on the finish.
I think it's a combination of whatever they've blended in terms of the oak and the nuttiness. I totally see what they were going for in terms of hoping to achieve something that calls back to a vintage note. Because I wouldn't say that this straight up comes across vintage. I think vintage has, you know, mouthfeel characteristics, the way something presents on the finish, on your palate, that is very specific to that era, but I totally see what they're going for.
Yeah.
I think they achieved it.
Do you know what I'm going for?
Whiskyambitions.com.
Our home on the internet, whiskyambitions.com, you know. It's where you can get the long sleeve cast strength and unfiltered that I'm wearing, the Angel Share hoodie that you are wearing, Sarah, with the full logo here on the back. Also our Glencairns, but also our rocks glasses and copitas.
But also candles.
Also candles. Also challenge coins, event tickets up here that can be found at whiskyambitions.com.
And you can become a patron at patreon.com/itsbourbonnight and join our community for as little as $1 a month. And that is where you get discounts on that merch that Chad was talking about, depending on the tier, access to our barrel picks, after the episode exclusives, and more.
It's also where patrons got first crack at the VIP tier tickets, which are sold out.
And our group trip that we're about to took, I'm not really sure.
If you're watching this, we already took it.
We already took it.
All right, this is about my third sip. I'm trying to kind of figure out how that 102 proof is selling in. It's not like a super big hug, but it does have sort of I would say medium long finish.
Yeah.
More barrel than I was maybe kind of expecting.
While keeping very classic flavors, actually I'm finding this to be a really unique representation of 6-year product today. Or, you know, 6 years, obviously it's blended, 6 years what's listed.
They say 6-year minimum, so yeah.
I'm thinking that there might be
taste profile that they're going for. Yeah, they might be blending in a little bit older. Pure
speculation just based on the way the oak is presenting. Yeah. It's really unique presenting. It's like taking the core flavors and a different spin on it.
It is interesting because some people will take price and equate it to they should be charged a certain amount for it, which isn't the case because not all, you know, aged barrels are on the same playing field. So I do applaud them for putting the minimum 6-year age statement here on the back of the bottle when technically and legally they didn't have to put an age statement at all. It's just sort of a bar to kind of let you know what to expect. Although I am perceiving much different than what I would normally suspect for around a 6-year product.
So that's what I was gonna say, like based off of seeing what the suggested price was, but also finding online that this was listed at like $85+. I think one of our local big box stores has it for even more than that. I was like, for a 6-year, come on, like this is getting out of hand. But now that I've tasted it, I'm like, okay, I still think it should be at the suggested price.
Yes.
Always will stand by that.
Yeah.
However, I totally see why that could be justified now.
The Kentucky distillery is not disclosed, but just going off the flavor,
there's a nuttiness
I would
to it.
almost call this a baby Booker or a Baker's, because a Baker's is sort of like a baby Booker's. Baker's being 107 proof, this being 102. I would almost call it more of that.
It definitely has the nuttiness that I associate tends to be split between two distilleries, and that's Beam and Heaven Hill.
Yeah.
Now, whether it is from those, I don't know, but it has that signature nuttiness that makes me really think of those two.
Yeah, and sort of that honey tea type of flavor on the back end too. Pretty enjoyable. I like it.
I like it.
Yeah,
I think
it's something different.
It's in the giftable price range. I feel like it's something that most people haven't tried, and it's a unique take on classic flavors.
And that's where we'll leave it. If you haven't subscribed to us already, you can do so by clicking right up here. There's suggestions of other videos down here, and we hope to see you over there in one of those. Thanks, Sarah.
Thanks, Chad. I was gonna roll your R in your name, but it doesn't work.
Thanks, Fortuna. Until next time, drink more bourbon.